you go and try to find locations, and you have this idea and this dream, and you really have nothing to back it up, and so people weren't very enthusiastic in
Yeah.
renting a place to us.
No, I mean, would you give us
Leasing a,
money?
a property.
I mean, would you now give you
I
then
know.
money? Like, no, we didn't know what we were doing.
Welcome to Make Haste Slowly. My name is Michael Vaclav, co-founder of Medici Roasting, and we've had Medici Roasting now for 18 years, so that's pretty exciting.
Yes, I'm Allison. I am also the co-founder of Medici, and we're starting up Make Case Slowly.
What's this going to be about? Make Haste Slowly.
Yeah, why are we doing this? Well, I think the idea is that we'll get into like why we started Medici, but in general, we noticed that we have a lot of customers, a lot of regulars, and you get used to seeing people, you chat, but sometimes you don't really even get to know this person you've been standing in line with for however many years. So we were thinking we could take this opportunity to interview all of the amazing people that we've come to know over these years of building our Medici community. So customers and people on staff, different business partners that we've met over the years. I think there's just a multitude of amazing people that we've had the opportunity and pleasure to get to know, and this feels like a really cool way to get to introduce them to the broader community. So that's what I'm looking forward to. What are you looking forward to about this?
Yeah. Just I mean, we've just met so many fun, interesting people, and have had so many great conversations, and learned a lot from our customers to vendors to other business people in the Austin area and outside the Austin area too. That we just would like to share some of their thoughts with you guys, and we all to get to know them too. So that's kind of what the whole Make Case Slowly podcast that we're going to be doing. So I guess one thing to start off with this is a lot of people have asked us, how do you pronounce the name of this coffee shop?
But before, I mean, we thought for this episode it would be really fun for basically Michael and I to interview each other about Medici, like what is Medici even, and but we would love to answer the questions that we get asked like over the years. These are the questions we always get asked. So we thought it'd be fun just to answer them and be able to refer people to this episode for more information.
Totally. So how do you pronounce it?
How do you pronounce Medici? This is the number one question. We say Medici. The name means medicine, and so that's how I try and just help remember it phonetically, like medicine, Medici. But Medici is not incorrect. As far as I understand, Medici is the Italian pronunciation. Medici is the English pronunciation, so neither are incorrect. So we do not actually correct anyone, but personally within our house, we say Medici. Oh my gosh, I wish we had that clip from Silicon Valley. Oh, we'll have to find a link
I'll
to
put the
that.
clip in the show notes,
Oh,
and you'll absolutely love it. They do a really great job of going back and
making
forth
a,
on Medici or Medici. So
yeah, making a
it's
joke.
great.
Say Medici again.
Medici.
Shut the up. Say Medici again.
Medici.
Shut the up.
So that's the word Medici, but we will never correct you. So carry on with however you like to say it best.
Yeah. And I always loved it. Our first landlord always pronounced it Medici,
Oh,
and
bless.
never corrected him. He was absolutely amazing guy. We're so blessed to have him as our first landlord. He's a really great guy.
Yeah.
I stopped correcting him. I mean, I was just like, how's that Medici doing? I was like, man, it's doing great. Thanks. He's a
with
great
it.
man.
Um,
Yeah.
well, and that well, it kind of leads into the next question that we often get is, why did you call this place Medici? So I'm going to let you answer that one.
Yeah, that's a that's kind of a fun question. Like, as Alice and I were kind of going back and forth on like what we wanted to call the coffee shop is like uh Vaclav Coffee House or Vaslav Coffee House, because that's our last name is Vaclav. We kind of went through. We didn't want like to have like lava, Java, or something coffee. We want to kind of have
Mhm.
something a little bit bigger
Mhm.
of an idea than just necessarily coffee.
Yeah.
And so the Medici kind of just stuck out to us, and me in particular, because I studied a lot about the Medici in college. And the simple answer is Medici were known as the patrons of the arts, and pretty much anything in the Renaissance period, the Medici had their hands in. Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Raphael, Brunelleschi. There's so many things that the Medici either financed or were part of. Michelangelo studied in their sculptor gardens. And Florence was sort of like this place of innovation and creativity, and so the Medici kind of stand for that idea of innovation and creativity and exploring and so you kind of it starts to balloon out from there. Like the Medici were also had a lot of the Plato and Aristotle, and a lot of those ancient manuscripts were kind of lost to the West at that time, and they were bringing them in from the Ottoman Empire that had preserved a lot of these texts, and were translating them back into Latin and Greek and stuff. And so it's just a lot of really interesting fun things, and also Medici kind of are symbolic with the Renaissance too. And that's something else that we really love. And then there's kind of another interesting aspect as far as like the Medici over about a 400-year period. Money, influence, and power are not good or bad. It's what you do with them. And the Medici are a great example of those extremes. Of they did a lot of really great things. They also really did a lot of horrible things too. And I like that sort of example of like, it's like you're given these tools, and the tools themselves are not necessarily good or bad. It's what you do with them. And the Medici kind of represent the different ways that you can use these tools that you have. And so, just historically, super fascinating, and their family history throughout, the 400 or 500 year period. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like the basic of why we call it Medici, and and also that's kind of where you get the craft of coffee and just our enthusiasm about something and trying to make it great, and beautiful and uh, an experience, and that kind of has that sort of Renaissance craft aspect to it too. So
Mhm. Right.
yeah,
Hopefully we
anything that I left out, babe, or anything
hopefully
that
we
you
will do great and not horrible things with our house of Medici.
totally,
um,
totally, that's what we aspire to.
yeah, and I mean
For
you
sure.
clearly, you're a philosopher and a historian, and so I think it's a lot to you personally as well. I really connected with this idea that the Medici family, were creating and patroning masterpieces, works of art, like works of excellence for everyone to have access to. Um, I just love that idea that everyone deserves excellence. And so I think that's one of the just underpinnings of what we want to do with any of the spaces that we create is to make it excellent, and in terms of the space and the customer service and obviously the product that we're serving, so that everyone can have access to just refined and amazing coffee in a beautiful place. I love that. And yeah, I mean, espresso was invented in Italy, so that tracks as well.
Yeah, totally.
It's a little, if people actually know the history of the Medici family before they talk to us, there's always a little bit of like, why did you call it Medici? they were, there were some pretty gnarly characters in there. history.
Yeah.
So that leads into another question that we often get. Why did we do this? Why did we start a business? Um, or also like how did we get started?
Yeah, that's kind of a fun. That's kind of a really long story because it's actually still it's still happening. So what in your mind, like, because like the distinguishing factor for me was whenever I got laid off, budget cuts, and you're like, go Michael, go work at a coffee shop so we can get experience.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the turning point for us as far as like the actual, oh, this is not just something we're talking about uh and we're actually doing. So, but before that, did you ever think that you would own a coffee shop?
No. Um,
No.
no. Uh, no. I mean, like, neither of us are business people. You have a degree in history and philosophy, as we just saw evidence of. I have a degree in journalism. We neither of us had business degrees. Like, no, I had no plans of owning a business. Um, but like prior to us being married, coffee shops were a very significant part of our life. I think we both fell in love with coffee shop culture when we moved to Austin at our respective times. And granted, the coffee back in the late '90s was not good. It was not good coffee. But the coffee shop
Uh,
culture here in Austin was very rich. I mean, Little City, Mozart, and so at the time, like Metro, when we were in
Metro,
college, um, all of our college
Mojo,
friends, um,
Quack.
quacks, yeah, we all hung out there, and it was a definite part of our that environment was a part of our formative years, and we loved that space, right? You can get together um, and talk and exchange ideas and just so much life and connection and community was happening in those spaces. And so I think you and I both fell in love with them, um, kind of separately, but you definitely invited me into your world at Metro. Our Guad location used to be called Metro, and before that it was Quacks, but I never knew it as Quacks. Did you?
Oh no, it was like Insomnia. It
Insomnia.
was
Okay.
Insomnia then Metro.
Was
Yeah.
it Quacks?
Yeah. And then Quacks was just down the street.
Okay, Quackenbush was down the street.
Hmm.
It was Insomnia, then Metro.
Yeah.
Um, and Metro was so that space back then was 24-hour coffee shop, smoking,
Hmm.
just like coffee, cigarettes, and existential angst filled the space
Totally. Yeah.
nonstop.
You couldn't even see across the room because it was like the smoke was so thick. It was just kind of like a
Ew,
hazy person would walk towards you and be like, "Oh, hey, Allison."
so gross.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty
awesome. It
wild.
was it was amazing and just
Mhm.
so many provocative conversations and anyhow. So we have loved coffee shops and fast forward, we got married, you lost your job. And yeah, I think at that time we were hanging out at JP's Java, which is like the OG specialty coffee, the original, like they were the first, right? Doing real specialty coffee here in Austin. And
Mhm.
we hung out there all the time. I was working at UT and you did not, yeah, I was like, oh, just get a job there. Like, why not? And so you started as a barista and then you worked your way up, you were managing and um, yeah, it just became such a central part of life. And then you
Yeah.
didn't get into grad school that you wanted.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it was
Didn't
just,
become a doctor like I.
oh, thank God. Oh, thank God that didn't happen. Um, God bless the doctors, but I'm glad you're not one of them. Yeah, and then I
If you
don't,
can't tell already, I'm the crazy dreamer, risk taker, and Allison's the stable. Reality is real person.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
For the most part, you're a creative dreamer though too.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know. It was somewhere in that, like the grad school stuff didn't work out, and so we just started. We were like, oh, let's open a coffee kiosk on ACC campus,
Mm,
and so we started looking into that,
yep.
and then I guess this was like 2004. Took a class to do a business plan, learn how to make a business
Mm.
plan, do that.
That was with Big Austin, which they're still doing that today, which is
Amazing.
really that was really helpful for us.
Amazing
Yeah.
organization. We could, I mean, honestly, I don't
Mhm,
know that we could have done what we did without having taken that class and learned. And also, they give microloans
mm,
to minority businesses. And that was a huge step. And then we continued to get like microloans in those early years from them.
mhm,
Um, so, yeah, definitely grateful for that resource here in Austin.
mm.
Um, yeah, it started off as a coffee kiosk, and they were like, nah, we don't want a kiosk. We want a whole coffee shop. So, having no money, no experience whatsoever, we started looking for locations. And I mean, divine intervention that we came across the Westland property. It's amazing.
Well, even up to that point, it's like you go and try to find locations, and you have this idea and this dream, and you really have nothing to back it up, and so people weren't very enthusiastic in
Yeah.
renting a place to us,
No, I mean, would you give us
leasing a,
money?
a property.
I mean, would you now give you
I
then
know.
money? Like, no, we didn't know what we were doing.
I would have saw the sparkle in that guy's eye and would.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
you would have.
What even is a teller of like we found that one on West Lynn and met with Mike, and he was like, wow, I really like you guys, and I'd love to do this. I'm a little bit concerned, like you guys are new parents, and it's like it's your first business to ever do. Like this is kind of risky on my part, and he ended up taking the chance on us, which was really it
Yeah,
was really cool. Like that's how we got into that West Lynn.
yeah.
I think we got into like at the right time because there were so many people going after that property once we signed on it, and uh,
I mean,
man, I'm so thankful that that was our first. That was crazy.
I mean, is it true that like wasn't Starbucks one of the people that had approached him about the space, or am I making that up?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a chocolatier. There's quite a few things that were, but I think we just were so quick on signing. We're like, yes, we want
yeah,
it. Let's do this.
well,
But then it took another year and a half for us to open. So, but
so
that's a
long.
whole
Yeah, we
nother
signed a
story.
lease in March
2005,
of
early
2004,
2005. Mhm.
and then we opened
2004. Wow.
because Elia.
End
No,
of
that would have been
2006.
2005. You're right. March 2005
Hmm.
because Elia was like 3 months old, and then
Hmm.
we opened in 2006,
Yeah. September,
and here we
which I
are.
don't know when this episode's coming out, but this was our 18-year anniversary this week,
Sweet,
so this month.
so wild.
Yeah, this is pretty wild.
Yeah. So
And I think as we go along, we'll also probably do a few of these and just kind of also tell you some stories along the way, maybe in more depth. We've got a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, as well as some really beautiful stories of our experience and that kind of stuff. As well as our customers that we'll also have on. So
yeah,
would you do it? Would you do it again? That's another question. If you could go back, would you do it again?
I mean that's like a really hard question to answer.
I know. I know.
Um, we don't know what lessons we need to learn in order to grow into the people that we're meant to become. So, I mean, no, I would definitely do it again in terms of starting Medici, but I think
Mm,
s- if I could start again knowing what we know now, we would have done it really differently.
yeah.
So I tell people, I hope it doesn't offend you, but I'm like, we basically did everything the hard way.
Yep.
Like the hard way.
Nope. Mhm.
So
Well, it's kind of, I mean, it's that's the thing is like when people start a business, like it's like you either come in it as a manager, as a technician, or an entrepreneur. And I was a barista opening a coffee shop, and that's sort of like a technician. And we kind of had to all along the way to kind of learn how to run a coffee shop as well as like all the things about P and Ls and balance sheets, and that was a lot of learning through all that.
yeah. Well, and I think that's why, honestly, like why Medici has been able to keep going is because you actually love learning. You don't resent having to learn things. It fuels you. Um, Probably you know a lot of things you never really wanted to know at this point, like
So
plumbing, and, you
uh,
know. But
lots of plumbing and
but
electrical
yeah,
work.
you don't start out. That was not our why in the beginning. I think what we just
Mm,
described, those stories was talking about like how did we actually get started? But the why of it
mm.
for
Oh,
me
good call.
had to do with people, right? It's about making space for people and for community and connection. That's why um makes me yeah, it makes me a little emotional to think about all the all the things that have happened, all the life that has happened in our shops. Um such meaningful It has become a such meaningful space in so many people's lives, and we don't even know, like we don't even hear, like occasionally we hear stories that just kind of that blow our minds,
Mm,
right? um but there's just a sense of wonder in me when I sit and think about, for 18 years people have been coming. It's a place of being known, um a safe place, a place to connect, a place to recover. People have met in our shops. They've met their husbands. They have proposed in our stores. People have got married in our stores, like coming in and,
yeah,
little
yeah,
people that have little babies or little kids when they first came in and met us. And then that little baby ends up working for us. And we're just like our own babies working for us. I don't know. I think that is the why for me. The amazing people that have been on staff and getting
mm,
to know them in such a unique way. And uh, yeah, again, like all the business people that we've gotten to partner with over the years. It's just kind of incredible. So I think that for me is the why. Also, coffee's awesome. It's delicious.
mm. Totally.
But enjoying it with people is really like the heart. What about for you? What's
Yeah, I
your
think
what's your why?
the cultural part is definitely how we both kind of got into it. I think it wasn't until JP's Java that I actually started to kind of fall in love with coffee too.
Mhm.
But up until that point, like that's kind of where I learned is in coffee shops. Not only just studying and reading, but in talking to people. That's one reason why I loved Metro back in the day, which is our campus store right now. Is that there were so many people from all different backgrounds, religions and viewpoints and political ideas, and I would just ask people questions and talk to them. And everything from a knife thrower that comes through town ever so often, who was a knife thrower. Him and his dad were knife throwers in the circus. To someone who's a Satanist, uh, someone who's a Muslim, to a Christian, to it's like, oh man, I just remember this one guy demolished me in chess. I also played a lot of chess, and people from all over the world too. There was this German guy that I spent a lot of time with. You know, it's just so rich that you can just kind of sit down and ask somebody a question. You just don't know what's going to come out, and I feel like coffee shops are such a prime place for that to happen. So there's something that like that's something also with Medici that we want to click. We don't really get political or social or religious anything around Medici because we want it to be a place where people come and have the conversation. You know, it's like we want the Republican and Democrat to come to Medici and have the discussion. You know, people from different religions to be able to come and have the discussion, different political viewpoints, social viewpoints. And so we've always wanted to keep Medici sort of that neutral, safe space for people to come and have those conversations because ideas are dangerous and good, and they need to be talked about and need to be hashed out and debated. And we think also that's a great part with Medici that I've always really loved is to see the diversity of opinions and ideas that come into our store also, as well as the all the relational parts that I also was talking about with friends have been made and marriages have happened and all that stuff. So, uh, but and then there's this whole other thing called coffee that is absolutely just beautiful. We'll hopefully we'll have JP from JP's Java, who is probably one of the uh, kind of the founding fathers of our especially the coffee movement in the South. He has a great story. I don't want to tell it right now, uh, but basically, Zoka of Seattle, Brown Serta, was a second
Wait,
U.S.
you're
barista
going into the
champion in the
story. You
early
said you don't want to
2000s.
tell the story, but you're telling the story.
Well, he's got a really cool story on how he started, but this is more about like
Okay.
this is where I fell in love with coffee was Brown Serta. She came and trained the staff at JP's Java, and that's where I learned about coffee and extraction.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this was early on in coffee, so even this stuff at the time was cutting edge, but it's like it's
Right.
even surpassed that now. But that just sort of like tuned me into like, oh my gosh, coffee can be good. Like if you steam the milk in a certain way, it actually releases the sugars and doesn't taste burnt,
Yeah.
you know? And so there's all these little things that just kind of set me off onto the coffee craze. So then it was kind of fun, like a space that I've always enjoyed and loved. And then also this product coffee that actually has this sort of, you know, uh, amazing dynamic taste that you can extract from it and from different places. And uh, so it was kind of interesting to see all that sort of start to bloom in this at this time when we decided to uh, start Medici.
Yeah. Okay. That reminds me of another question that we all often hear. Uh, what's your favorite coffee? Like, what's your drink? And how much coffee do you drink every day?
Should we start?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so in the morning, I make a pour over of one of our single origin coffees. And so I'll have something different. Maybe I'll have a couple days in a row the same one. So that's what I start with. And then usually around 8 o'clock, I'll have a cappuccino. And then at 2 o'clock, I'll have an espresso. So, uh, and sometimes it's a decaf espresso. Our decaf is amazing. It's really great. So sometimes I'll have a decaf espresso in the afternoon.
Okay. So, what time of day is the pour over
How about you?
happening?
Pour over happens around 4 or 5 in the morning, and then let's say 5:30, 5 o'clock. I would say that's the average. And then 5 o'clock pour over, 8 o'clock cappuccino, 8:30 cappuccino, and 2 o'clock espresso. Pretty much every day, except for Saturday and Sundays where I just have a pour over in the morning, and that's it.
Nice.
How about you?
Let's see. I don't drink that much coffee. I have a different way with my coffee drinking. I make one big coffee in the morning and then I kind of sip on it all day. But over the years, I'd say my go-to is an Americano, with
Mm.
a little bit of Roasting. Well, at the moment it's oat milk. That's my most favorite. So a half calf Americano with oat milk, like 2/3 coffee, 1/3 oat milk. I love it. It's my oat milk is the best.
Mhm.
It's so creamy. I prefer it to actual milk, which hurts my stomach because I'm an old person now. I'm one of those old people that can't do dairy.
Uh,
But I have to say, my favorite coffee that I've ever had is currently our Frinsa.
oh. Mm.
Frinsa. It's my favorite coffee. I love it. I told, like, in the morning when you pour your coffee, you pour the beans in, and then you like seal the little bag. You like squish the bag so you can seal it up. And that little puff of air that comes up when you seal the bag, it's like one of my favorite moments every day. So, oh, the smell of the Frinsa. We're almost out, you guys.
I think we're going to be bringing it back, but we had a limited SO offering on the Friends, but I think it should be coming back. So
Really?
it's an anaerobic process, and yeah, it's a really fascinating coffee. So I always love like taking people over whenever they come into the roasting facility to smell it as in the green coffee form.
Mm.
It's such a like in your face kind of pungent almost smell that is really intense. Yeah, kind of fun to see the contrast between the different green coffee beans. So
Yeah, green coffee is like not the best smelling stuff.
some of it is really good. I like it anyway.
Yeah. Was there anything else? You think of any other questions that people ask us?
I think one thing people kind of notice is that all of our coffee shops are also very different interior wise, and
Oh,
maybe you can tell us about that.
I can, but that did remind me of another question that I get asked.
Oh
Do you
no.
what's your favorite coffee shop? Do you have a favorite
Oh
among the Medicis?
yeah,
How do you
I
respond to
love it.
that?
There's this. I heard this. Yeah, exactly. There's just like I heard this. I don't know if it's a Jewish proverb or just a story or something, but there's um, this Jewish art gallery or something like that, and this American woman comes in and says, like, "Well, which one's your favorite?" And he was like, "Do you have kids?" And the lady's like, what is that kind of? What does that have to do with anything?" She's like, "I have 3 kids." He's like, "Which one's your favorite?" And I always love that explanation because one is like he invited her into a conversation, and that like it's like he could have said like oh all of them are it's like I love all my kids the same, but instead he invited her into an experiential aspect of that. So whenever people ask me like which one's my favorite, that's kind of how I always answer it. It's sort of like each one's unique and different, and there's something special about each one. Like Westland, the community, the neighborhood, the the way that people come and congregate there is just like no other place I've ever seen. It's really beautiful.
Mhm.
Our campus store has an energy to it that is young, and it's like I'm hearing all the same questions I was asking at that time when we were at Metro, but now having at Medici. And there's this energy with that youthfulness and that questioning that is just so beautiful about that.
Right.
Our South Lamar stores is a little more similar to our Westland store. I think Allison's creativity and Runa, I think, made that store such a very like aesthetically just pleasing place to be in, and it feels homey and it's calming, and I love the bar in that space. Just such a cool space.
Mhm.
And then the roasting facility has the action of the roasting part of it, and the coffee shop, and then just the everything around it. And our domain store is like this little oasis in the craziness of the domain. And I love the big windows there. So it's just each store has something unique and fun to offer. I would love to go into the ones that we closed down because of the pandemic, but that's probably too much to get into right now.
Yeah, it's a story for
How
another
about you?
day.
How would you answer that?
Oh, the same.
Yeah. How would you answer the same way or how would same? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. Like
Yeah.
you have to use the kid metaphor. Um, yeah, they're different. You love them all, and but you kind of love them for different reasons and relate to them differently. But they're all your family. Like, just love them. I don't know how I
Yeah.
somehow get credit for the Lamar location. That was 100% Runa. Like, they did an
Oh
amazing
yeah.
job. Like,
Well, I think with all of our locations, like Runa workshops with Aaron Bulmer and Jean Pierre, they've done I guess 4 or 5 of our shops. Man, they've done a great job with it. But it always interesting because like they do this fantastic job, and then Allison will pick one thing out, like the green wall at South Lamar, and everyone loves the green wall. And Jean Pierre and Allison kind of fought over that.
yeah, we did.
and not really fought, but yeah. Uh, and yeah, it seems like you always kind of add the mirrors on the wall, that was
Mm,
you. I feel like you always kind of add an element that kind of just kind of makes it like kind of pop.
mm.
So if you go to any of the stores and something pops, that's probably because Allison.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
I'll attribute it to
Okay.
you.
Okay. One more, I think, last question that I often get is Medici going to go outside of Austin?
Hmm.
Will there be Medicis in other cities?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think we're against any of that. It's just that we've kind of just grown. We've had so many amazing people work for us, and I think a lot of times, even the people that have worked for us kind of have pushed us, in expanding. And it's not that we didn't want to, but uh, I just can't go through all of the amazing baristas and trainers and operations people, managers that we've had come through the store, and now actually own their own coffee shops. Which is I think at one point I counted 10 or 12 coffee shops of former baristas, and it's just been such a great experience that maybe we do. It's like, but it's really not something that we're like wanting to do 100 shops, by 2030 or something like that.
Right.
uh,
Right.
yeah, I think right now we're just having fun with our roasting side of things and bringing in fun and interesting coffees. And our roaster, our director of coffee right now, Madison, is bringing in some really fun, like the friends are, and got some co-fermentation coffees in that are just wild and crazy. So I think right now just having fun with some fun and interesting coffees. It kind of has my attention.
Yeah.
But you know how it is.
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
what was kind of like your role in Medici in the early days?
we started it all together. I was a barista for the first 6 months, maybe. I was pregnant with our
Mhm.
son, our second kid, when we actually opened. And so I think after he was born, I didn't work behind the bar anymore. Um, but I did all of our admin and payroll and accounting for a couple more years after that. I think until our third was born. And I think that's when I kind of stepped away more fully because kids. And then we had another kid and another kid and a couple more coffee shops. And our life has really been bananas. But I really have to thank you for just your steadfastness. 'Cause seriously, babe, this just wouldn't still be here.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. We basically had a kid, opened a coffee shop, had a kid, opened a coffee shop, and We have 5 kids right now, 19 to 11. So it's we've kind of like built a lot, family and business, and it's pretty wild ride. Now that I look back on it, I don't know how we, we did any of this, but we did.
Yeah, we did.
Cool.
Grace
Yeah.
of God and
Yeah.
also your stubborn determination to, to keep the store open and to keep paying people, the amazing people that work for us. And yeah, there's a lot of team effort, but I think at the bottom of it is you continuing to say yes and keep going and believing in the goodness of what we've built. And I'm really grateful. So yes, I'd do it again.
Awesome.
Would you?
I would totally do it again. I'm just thankful that we got to do this together. I don't think it'd be as much fun doing it alone, you know?
Yeah.
Like this person that we know. He told me something early on before we opened our first Medici. He was like your wife and your kids, your family, you'll always have with you. The businesses come and go. And he's a serial entrepreneur. He's had like 20 or 30 businesses, multiple of those have failed. But I think that really helped me have a certain perspective on our business, which is like Medici is an expression of Allison and I. It's not who we are. And I think that's been really helpful. Like Medici is our heart, and we have invested a lot in it. But it's an expression of who we are, and not who we are, and not doesn't it's not our identity. Um, so I think just doing that with you and having family, building the family, like you know, I I think I think that combo, like I don't think just having a business to do a business is more like doing it with you and doing it, with people and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's
Well, I'm looking forward to getting to introduce a broader community to the amazing people that we've met along the way.
mm.
I think that's going to be really fun.
I kind of want to talk about like why to make haste slowly. Or should we just save that for another time?
I don't know. How long what are you trying to keep these episodes?
Under an hour, but we're at 45. Yeah, we'll save that for another. Well, you and I can have another little solo time together.
Anytime.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in and to the first sort of intro. Make haste slowly
Yeah. And reach
time, and
out if there's any
yeah.
more
Uh,
questions um,
oh, there you go.
that you guys have for us.
Mhm.
We'd love to share our experience and help, yeah, answer any questions you guys might have.
Oh, that'd be fun. Just do like a question and answer time every so often
Mhm.
with people's questions. That'd be cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good idea. All right. Well, thank you guys, and we'll see you. We'll start having some episodes come out, and lots of interesting people. And we've already done one, so I think we're gonna do a couple more, and then have this be a weekly or bi-monthly kind of thing for you guys. So, anything else for you,
All
Ben?
right.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
See y'all.